Hi again, everyone. I'm Ollie Matthews. This is the Narcissistic Resistance, and this resistance video is sponsored by contribution from Christine, and it's a follow-up to the liar videos, and here's her story. Hi, Ollie. I apologize for the back-to-back emails. I feel like I'm OCDing big time and need your advice. For the past 5 weeks, I've been consuming everything I can regarding the narcissist. I'm from the liar videos. I don't know where this is headed, but I need a straight head to analyze what is happening. I am still no contact with Puerto Rican 74-year-old mother who just dropped the suit to sue for grandparents' rights. Oh, she dropped it, huh? Remember her story of supposed childhood abuse? Yeah, and I remember that's where the liar came from. The first video was liar. Don't believe anything that comes out of the narcissist's mouth. So, yeah, and I remember saying it didn't happen. Well, I've been going down that rabbit hole because I want to know the truth. I think I want to know the truth so I can find something to hold on to. Something to explain why she hated me from birth. 4 months, no contact. Enabler father is slipping away from me. But that is not why I'm writing you. I want to get better. I don't want to feel well. I don't feel well, though. Panic attacks are causing migraines. Please help me. I need to know that I will be okay. The first month was so empowering. I finally stood up for that little kid inside me who ended her torture. Why am I still so lost and obsessed with trying to make this right? Am I too damaged and far gone? Why are all my dreams about her yelling to me from her deathbed? I feel like this is worse than her insulting, berating, and injecting her poison. At least my husband would comfort me after the conflicts and I would feel like he sympathized with me. Now it's been 4 months and everyone is over it. They tell me to get on with it. She's gone. It's over. I feel like I'm in a race against time to find peace before she dies. And I'm feeling defeated. Look. At some point, Christine, you got to move on. You got to move on with this. You can't make this the entire focus of your life. You can't go so far down that rabbit hole where this is all you're focusing on. Look, your mother laid this Puerto Rican guilt on you with these horrible stories, which I'm telling you, I'm sure she's making most of them up. I promise you. The reason I wrote you about understanding narcissism the other day is because I can't or won't accept it. What's wrong with me? Why? Why when I write everything to give me a reminder and print out all her horrible texts, I just sit there and cry? I do have a therapist. She is trying to comfort me, but I still love my abuser mom. I love her. Why is this not getting better? Because you love your mother. So you're at a disadvantage over me and I think maybe many other people. Okay? You have the ability to feel guilt towards your mother because you love your mother. I never loved my mother. You're going to have to eventually come to the fact and face it and stare it down. Okay, your mother doesn't love you. She's not going to love you. Your mother lied to you your entire life. You have to accept that fact for your family's sake, because you can't just keep grabbing the same hot stove. And if you're going to have these emotional breakdowns every day over your mother and eventually nobody can take it. Nobody can take it. Even I have to take breaks from this because it gets dark. It gets ugly, and you got to give yourself a break. You're going to have to accept the fact that you were never loved. You have to accept it. You have to. I've been trying to get the truth about why she left Puerto Rico. I've contacted some estranged family members, and here's what I discovered. Here we go. At 17, my mom forced my grandmother to leave my grandfather and her 12-year-old brother behind in Puerto Rico. The father who allegedly chased my mom with a knife, and apparently, from what I remember, was raping your grandmother on the kitchen table in front of your mother. That's what I... She threatened to go to New York City herself, and my grandmother would never see her again if she didn't come. She claimed to have been a witness to numerous rapes and unwanted abortions forced upon her mother by her abusive father. Okay, here's what I discovered, and I'm swirling with confusion. The things my relatives reported were the following. My mother insisted on sleeping in between her mother and father when she was a teen in an effort to protect her mother. What? What abuser would allow his daughter to do that? Yeah, that's... Your mother has always been the ultimate controller. Always. Always. When they left PR, my mother promised her brother they would send money to bring him to New York City when they got enough. That never happened. Since they left during the summer before her brother's 8th grade, my grandfather never sent him to school again. Supposedly, my grandmother knew of this from her New York City apartment and never did anything. Right, because she didn't care. They were having a good time in New York. They were having a good time in New York. This is what happens. They're having a good time in New York. Yet, before they left, my grandmother was upset that her son's hair was cut too short during the summer month, and she didn't want his head to be sunburned. Yet, she cared nothing for him dropping out of school in the 8th grade, because it's all about looks. It's all about looks in that culture. School's not important. Being a good-looking boy is. At one time, my grandfather had a great deal of money, so my grandmother came to New York City with some very expensive diamond watches, brooches, ruby and diamond rings, her wedding ring. Your mother got your grandmother, and I think they probably conspired together with this shit. That's what it sounds like. They conspired together to run out of there with all the diamonds and jewels, and then come to New York. It sounds like they had enough money to bring the son. No, he would have encroached on the good time at 12. My grandfather had a great deal, so my grandmother came to New York with some very expensive diamond watches, brooches, ruby and diamond rings, her wedding ring. Yet my mom claimed to her 12-year-old brother they couldn't afford a ticket for him. How did my grandmother not pawn that stuff to keep her son with her? Because it was all about a good time. Because your grandmother's another liar. Because your grandmother's another liar. You come from a line of liars. They'll lie, they lie, they lie. They're about dick, attention, and money. They're liars. It's what I told you in the first video. The whole thing is a scam. You're in love with a scam. The person you love is a scam. At 17 years old, my mother seemed to be calling all the shots with my grandmother. That's what I told you. That's what I told you. My grandmother was a battered woman, but this makes no sense. She was battered by your mother, not your grandfather. She loved her son and wouldn't have left him with his father if his father didn't want him, which I found out he didn't. He had no time to take care of an adolescent. During this time, her 12-year-old brother was left in PR alone a lot and was molested by a family member, something he confessed on his deathbed. He never revealed who it was. He loved his father to his dying day, so it wasn't the father. Your mother and grandmother did this. They saved themselves and only themselves. And they made sure they ran out with all the gold, with all the jewels, though, didn't they? Didn't they? Ran right to New York City. My grandfather had early onset Alzheimer by the time he brought his son to New York. This was 3 years later. The 15-year-old son went to live with my mom and her mother. He stayed for less than a year and got married at 16. Right, that's why, yeah, get married, find a girl. That's all the mother was concerned about. That's why she was mad when his hair was cut short. Could have cared less about his education. At the time, he recalls my mother yelling at their mother and forbidding her to speak to the dad. My grandfather found a single bedroom to rent and would come by to get food from my grandmother when no one is home. My mother caught them a couple times and screamed at my grandmother for letting him in and then physically threw him out of the apartment. My mother also sent him money in a plain white envelope and sent it anonymously to his apartment. He didn't even remember his own name the last 4 years of his life, and was confirmed, as was confirmed by the autopsy, that he did have plaque all over his brain, consistent with dementia and Alzheimer's. Yet my mom was constantly complaining that he hired hitmen to follow her once he returned to New York City, something he had no means to do. She told me he died in the street and is buried in a potter's field. I know now, as I have seen a death certificate, that he died at St. Luke's Hospital with all his family, minus my mother and grandmother, by his side. He's buried in Jersey City. My mother was called when he was dying and told to come down as he wanted to talk to her. She hung up the phone. Yet showed up at the wake, but later that day took my grandmother on vacation to Florida and didn't tell her for 2 weeks that he had died. My grandmother was devastated. Your mother is all lies, all built on a house of lies. Your mother has built this world on a house of lies, and you're sitting there obsessing that she doesn't love you? What's the feel guilty about here, Christine? What's the feel guilty about? She said something to me once that I just accepted when I was 9 years old. She said that I was her father reincarnated, sent back to Earth to punish her. Now I sit with that statement and say, why would someone who tortured you your whole life come back to punish you? Shouldn't he have come back to ask forgiveness? I just got that. What's wrong with the story here? Exactly, projection. Why would he come back to punish her? Punish her for all the lies she's been telling on him? Because she knows she deserves to be punished. She knows she deserves to be punished, and you won't punish her. My grandmother lived with us until she died. She was ill, and my mother technically took care of her, but was always yelling at her when she wanted to go visit her son and her grandkids. My mother gave her holy hell every time. Why? Shouldn't she feel responsible and guilty for taking his mom away, having his education stopped at 8th grade, allowing him to be molested, and never being able to forgive his mother for abandoning him? FYI, my grandfather did have money. My mother was the golden child to him. I saw the pics, dressed in beautiful clothes and so happy. My aunts and uncles said the same thing. They also said my grandfather wasn't too nice and very greedy, but no one reported him as being violent. 'Cause your mother is a lying whore. She just wanted to come to New York and party because she felt she was entitled to it. She knows she deserves to be punished because she's been lying for all these years. She's been waiting for her lies to catch up to her. The only thing I can think is, did her father molest her, and that's why so many lies and contradictions? Why she had such a preoccupation with rape, and why it happened to me why when it happened to me, she didn't seem to care, only focused on her feelings. Was it that she thought, well, I was raped by my own father, so my assault was worse? No, it never happened. It never happened to her. She's lying. It never happened. Never happened to her. One last creepy thing. I found pictures my father took of their honeymoon before. My mother sprawled on a bed in a lace gown, and after they consummated their marriage, with her bed hair looking like a cashier cat, she documented losing her virginity. I can't believe I never saw this before. What the hell was I raised by? What is happening? Everything is a lie. Nothing makes sense. Dude, you were raised by a scamming whore. Your mother was trying to consummate her marriage through her American husband, Victory. It's all been about money with your mother. Always. It's always been about her and her needs. Unlike the narcissist, I do believe that I can find some kind of closure if I can understand. Maybe I'm wrong, but there's no roadmap to recovery. I'm doing no contact. I feel like shit. I've tried meditation, exercise, praying, and I just keep thinking I have to forgive because that is the only answer to heal. The end stage can't be anger. I can't live in that place. I'm not strong enough. I'm in a ton of inner turmoil. Forgiveness doesn't mean I go back. I just have to let this hate go. Please help me. You are further down the road. Thank you, Ollie. You're going to have to work through your anger and your hate. It has to come out. It has to come out. You're going to... Look, the longer you go no contact, the more is going to come up and come out. What you can't do is sit there and not accept it. It's okay to be angry over it, but to sit there and obsess why my mother doesn't love me and be there like how you still love her. You love a lie. Loving a narcissist is loving a lie. Everything about your mother is a lie. And not one thing about her story checks out. Not one. Everything is a lie. You're loving a lie. And you have to stop. You have to stop and accept it. It's all a lie. Which is what I told you in the very first video, because I've seen this. I know who your mother is. I know what she does. I know why she does it. Charlene can tell you all about your mother. If her mouth is moving, she's lying. She'll say or do anything. She'll use her own children. She'll set up her daughter for the things that she lies about happening to her. She'll make sure it happens to you. What the narcissist lies about happening to them, they'll ensure happens to you for real. What's left to love, Christine? You have to move forward. So, I hope that helps. Thank you so much for another contribution and story, Christine. I really appreciate it. Thank you to everyone watching. Please leave any opinions or advice in the comment section below. And again, if you want your story read on the channel, you have a topic you'd like me to cover, a narcissist you'd like to expose, you'd like to set up Skype, a phone call, have a private video made, or a Facebook live chat, or you'd like to sponsor a video like this for someone who needs help and can't afford it, or just make a contribution to the channel in general to keep it supported, growing, and successful, because this channel survives 100% on contributions from all of you guys. Without you guys, all this goes away. So if you like what you see here and you want to see more videos like this, you know what to do with the PayPal and email links in the description box. Also, please like and share this video wherever you can. Subscribe to my channel if you haven't, and be sure to click the subscription bell to be notified of all my video uploads. I'm Ollie Matthews. This has been The Narcissistic Resistance.